Hey guys, it's Vanessa. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute bear topper. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with his body, and we're going to take some brown fondant, or you can also use gum paste, but I only had fondant on hand. So what I did end up doing was adding some Tylose powder in order to make it a little bit more firm and so that it sets a little bit harder. So what I'm doing is I'm rolling it to smooth out any cracks and also to shape it into an egg shape. As you can see there. Okay, so once we have that shaped, what we're going to do is we're going to take a stick. I used a lollipop stick and just put it through the center. And what that does is it provides some additional support for the body as well as the head that we're going to be adding later. Okay, and we can just set that aside, and now we're going to start on the head. We're going to take another piece of fondant that's the same color as the body, roll it into a ball, and then flatten it out. You can make the head more round if you prefer, but just make sure that you give the body enough time to dry so that it's able to support that additional weight. And then I'm going to use my ball tool and add 2 holes for the eyes. And for his mouth area, I'm going to use an ivory piece of fondant. I rolled out a ball flat into an oval shape. And I'm just adding a little bit of water so that it helps adhere to the face. Okay, and now I'm just going to set that aside and go back to the body. And now I'm going to start on the legs. You'll notice I keep reshaping the body, and again, it's because my fondant was very soft even after adding the Tylose. It was just a very humid day. So for the legs, what you want to do is you want to take a piece of fondant and roll it into a sausage shape, tapered more at one end, and you can flatten it against your work surface to get a cleaner line for the bottom of the foot, as you'll see. And then you're just going to place it onto the body. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other leg. And I'm now going to take my Dresden tool and I'm going to add 2 indents on each foot so that it looks like he has 3 little toes. And now we're going to do the arms, and we do this the same way that we did the feet. We roll a smaller piece of fondant into a sausage shape, which is more tapered at one end, and then you're just going to flatten it against your work surface. I'm going to be adding a blanket that the bear is going to be holding, so I just want to make sure that his arm is long enough and that I know where the position is that I want to put that arm. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of light blue fondant now and roll it out very thin, and this is going to be his blanket. Sorry, I didn't realize that this was off screen, guys. So just using a knife, I'm just cutting it into sort of an organic shape so it looks a little bit more natural once it's draped across his arm. Okay, and stretch it out if you want it to be a little bit thinner. I noticed it was a little too big, so I'm cutting a little bit off. Okay, and then we're just going to drape it across his body or his arm so that he's holding it. And now we're going to place his other arm onto his body. And again, I'm adding just a little bit of water to his arm and his blanket just to help it stick to his body. And now I'm taking the Dresden tool and I'll be making indents in both of his paws, similar to the way we did the feet. And now we're going back to the head. And I did this portion off camera, but basically what I did for his ears was I took 2 small balls of fondant and I flattened them out. I used a ball tool to make a space in each ear, which I filled with the ivory fondant. I then cut off the bottom portion of the ear so that it would lay flat against his head. And I'm just using a little bit of water to help that stick to his head. And now we're going to roll out a small ball of black fondant for his eyes. Again, add a little water into the eye socket just to secure them in. And I'm going to use the Dresden tool again to just make an indent at the bottom of his mouth. And we don't want to go all the way up because we want to leave some space to draw his nose on. And now I'm just using the Dresden tool to add a little bit of detail on his face. So right now I'm going to shorten the stick and I'm going to add his head onto the body just to make the initial hole so I can let the head set for a little bit. And now that everything has firmed up a little bit, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add the nose. And I'm using edible markers here. And I also added a glaze to his eyes, just a little bit of piping gel. And I almost forgot his tail, so I'm going to add that now. We're going to flip him around, do the same seam that we have on his head and add that to his back. And then we're just gonna take a small bowl of brown fondant and attach that. There we go. Okay, so he's starting to come together. I'm just going to add a couple of reflections to his eyes. So I'm taking some white fondant, again off screen, and just making small little balls, which I'm just adding on to his eyes. So you can add 1 reflection or 2, depending on the look that you prefer. I'm using the dredging tool just to shape that reflection because it got a little bit messed up when I went to put it on. Now I'm just going to take some brown food coloring powder and add a little bit more depth to the piece. I've just started doing this with my fondant pieces and it makes such a difference, but I haven't mastered it yet. Just going to add it to his face, give it a little bit more texture, some color here in the cracks and the crevices where there would be shadows. It just adds a little bit more depth and makes the piece really pop. And I'm also going to do the same with his blanket. I'm just going to add a little bit of the royal blue coloring dust. And he's almost done. And there he is. Our bear is now complete. And that's how I made this bear topper. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crafty videos. Thanks again, guys. See you next time. Bye.